Hello everyone, you're watching and attending the Penfield Planning Board pre-public hearing work session on June 14th, 2018. Welcome everyone. Allison, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Hetzke?
Here.
Bastian?
Here.
Knauer?
Here.
Burton?
Here.
Nosinger?
Here.
Sangster?
Here.
O'Connor?
Here.
Weissar?
Here. Alrighty. We have meeting minutes from the May 24th work session. Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to review them and entertain a motion to approve them.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was
Burton,
that?
Bastian.
Okay.
Burton, Bastian.
Hetzke?
Aye.
Bastian?
Aye.
Burton?
Aye.
Knauer?
Aye. Okay, Zach, you want to go through our table items and
Sure.
other action items?
No problem. The first three applications listed under our table items, there's no action required by the board this evening. Moving on to our tabled sketch plan application for 280 Panorama Trail. Since we last met, the Conservation Board has met. They have issued a report, and that was provided to the board, as well as staff has prepared a draft sketch letter with a lot of the comments and concerns that have been noted so far regarding the project. I guess I would highlight that one of those major concerns so far has been the review of 3 versus 4 lots based on the EPODs that are present on the property. The first being the steep slopes along the entrance drive and the wooded areas that exist, as well as some unclassified but certainly relevant drainage ways that traverse the property over Lot 4. The board discussed these last meeting and I think unanimously decided that or expressed that there was not support for a 4-lot subdivision here due to the existing conditions on Lot 4 and what the proposed would create there with creation of steep slopes, and as we found out in their most recent revised plans that were submitted late last week, would also require retaining walls to stabilize the site, protect the driveway, so on and so forth. I'm assuming that position hasn't changed with the board, and again, we drafted a letter based on those things for you to review and input this evening.
And so we have, we've all had the letter, had an opportunity to review it. Jim, early this afternoon, just put in a couple of edits, or proposed edits, really kind of changing the words around from a summary conclusion paragraph. I didn't print that one, but to me they just reworded a couple things. That last paragraph would just state the board has now concluded instead of having no additional concerns at this time. Number 3, we have added at the end of it as conventional borings and open deep holes may not be suitable for the site.
Regarding soils testings and depot.
Right. And then he's talking about maintenance of traffic on the roadway on Panorama Trail, and talking about environmental impacts in bullet number 1 on the letter. So
Really just guidance for the applicant should they choose to make a formal application.
correct.
Site plan approval, the kinds of things that we had discussed that.
And that's what that section's intended for, is if you decide to move forward along with our normal application materials, these would also be required with a future application should they decide to move forward. Other items in the letter highlight, disturbance to EPODs, certainly the construction of a private drive from Panorama Trail, drainage patterns, soils conditions, and requiring a geotech report for this board's review, as well as the town engineers, and some of the utilities that come with the project as well. Mainly with this one, I don't think we talked about too much, but these homes would require private E1 grinder pumps that would, as proposed, go to a low-pressure force main along a private drive. And in those situations, those low-pressure force mains would have to be dedicated to the town. For future maintenance, that is something the town board would ultimately have to review and decide if they would accept a system like that along a private drive. But that is also captured in here as well, just to put all the facts out there. So those are the highlights of the letter.
So do you have any other comments about the letter that you want to make changes or comfortable
I
with?
think we should recommend to staff to issue the letter to the applicant.
Okay, so you want to move that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Burton,
Aye.
Canower,
Aye. Okay. So we can send them a letter.
We'll issue the letter for that project to the applicant, and we'll be in touch if we receive anything
We'll
back.
see. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so for our action items, we have 3 of them. I'll twist the order around a little bit, because we do have one that Jim would have to recuse himself for. So, starting with action item number 2 for 1299 Baird Road. It's a proposed new location for A&J Pharmacy. It was previously used as a jewelry store, and they're here before this. What's being proposed there to move in is permitted use. So they're here before the board just looking for architectural review, what they're proposing for the exterior of the building. We're kind of a before and after on your left and right of what's being proposed. As Doug just zoomed in, that's the proposed, and we have sample materials here that were provided by the applicant as well. For the cultured stone along the base of the building, the faux wood surface that we see here on the plan, as well as the siding material for the columns, the vertical columns on the side of that. So all of these have been provided for your reference. I'll note that the signage proposed at the monument sign would require a zoning board application due to the size. Everything else is purely architectural.
Thoughts?
They did a nice job.
So the green wall, is that actually a growing green wall?
What exactly?
Green wall is a generic term,
Okay.
so, it could be,
If you'd like, I can ask for clarification
that-
there in the
that
audience.
is,
vegetation.
Richard, would you-
That's what I took it to
Would
mean,
you like
is
to come up, Richard?
vegetation.
Hello, everyone. Richard
Hello.
Napoli, Smith Associates Architects. So the green wall is an idea right now. We're hoping to put what we would call living wall, whether it has some sort of, we don't know yet because it's a budget-driven, whether it's a trellis, and we're going to train the vines to grow up on it, or we will actually have a tray system. It's a hope that we can make the budget work for this with all the other elements. And create an enhanced parking sides by having this element on there. So it'll either be low-tech or high-tech, depending on money.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure.
No,
All
that's
right.
nice.
Anybody have any issues with this?
No, not at all.
Somebody want to move to approve it?
So moved.
Second?
It was moved by Bastian?
No.
Burton. Oh,
Burton and Canower.
barely here.
Bill was asleep at the switch.
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Burton,
Aye.
Canower,
Aye.
So I'll be in touch with a letter from the board documenting this, and then keep moving forward with the building permit application.
Well, thank you all.
Or is he taking this?
Easy for him, I can get those for you. May have to use them on the bill. You may have to.
Save money wherever you can, right?
Absolutely.
Short, just one
Sustainable.
piece.
There you go.
Grab the sample.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
All right, our next action
That's right.
item Hatch Road subdivision. It was known as Fallen Leaf back in 2015. What we just pulled up is the approved plan that the board had. Actually, could you zoom out a little bit though? Just want to make sure we have the wetlands shown there. 3-lot subdivision was approved by the board back in 2015. The existing home is there shown in the middle. Lot 3 has been constructed. Lot 1 is the request at this time for a site plan modification to shift the home further back. And Doug's on using the cursor. I actually brought this today too to help. I don't know if it really helps. This is the federal wetland boundary that was delineated during the project. And the house, as we'll see when he pulls up the next plan, is going to be shifted closer to that. Not in it, but near it. And
Oop, that is here. If I'm looking at that correctly.
hang
Oh,
on.
that one.
Yes, it's here. So this is the proposed location, and there should have been a footprint of the, yeah, hang on, slow down. On this map here is actually, there's an outline of what was approved of the house pad too.
Okay.
So you can kind of see how they shifted and they've gotten closer to what their actual home is going to look like. But he just highlighted it there. This is where it was approved. This shifts it back further. We have no issues with this. We just would like to document that because of the presence of the wetlands back there, you can't construct pools, sheds, decks, so on and so forth back there, and we would like them to be aware that you are limiting some of the backyard area that you have, but they have expressed a desire to save as many trees as possible, so I think their goal is to
What's
build
the
what you see.
distance, Doug, from the rearmost portion of the proposed structure to the...
To the wetland.
Is that wetland or is that the wetland buffer?
That would be the wetland boundary, because it's the federal wetlands, so there's not a buffer that's shown with those.
And that house would be served by sewers, correct? There's sewers along Hatch.
Yes.
I think it's 1 to 20.
25 feet,
Okay.
26 feet.
It's a large lot. That's the residual land from that subdivision, actually. So, I mean, they have a lot of land that comes with it. Again,
But it, you know, it appears to give them more than enough room to put a deck or a patio or a shed.
It's like from that quilt to this wall,
Is that what that is, from the quilt to the wall?
pretty much.
I didn't even know you could use that tool. I just learned something.
What the
scaling.
quilt tool?
PDF tool is used.
I thought you were talking about the quilt tool.
Well, yeah.
And he puts the thumb up, kind of measures it.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to just review that with the board, but are there any concerns, questions regarding the relocation?
In the past, when we've had a situation like this, we made them put a post in the ground with a wetland.
For
That is-
conservation easement.
Yes. Well, I thought it was for a wetland too, it was a conservation easement. They're off of Shoecraft.
You're correct, Bill. There's, on the approved plan, there's a post mounted with a placard on it that has to be installed on the wetland boundary to make them aware of where it is,
So they don't build sheds and
not to go beyond that
swimming
point.
pools and stuff like that.
Yep, the original plan had it, had a point on there for it.
So
In this lot, too?
It'll do the
Yes.
same, we'll do the same thing here then, okay?
That would be carried through.
That would already be on.
Does this require a vote?
Yes, it's for the modification of the approved site plan.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. That's
Jen
Ms.
Canower.
Bastian, okay.
Bastian and Canower.
Thank you. Hetzke?
Aye.
Bastian?
Aye.
Burton?
Aye.
Canower?
Aye.
Okay.
Hey,
That plan had a comment or something on there that noted what Bill's talking about? Because it wasn't in the drawing, but I'm assuming it's on the
oh, it's original
conditions. Okay.
Yep, it's in the approvals, it's on the originally approved map, and we'll make sure it gets carried over to that one.
Right. All right, so the record will show that for item number 1, the McDonald's application, board member Burton is recusing himself.
Getting good at this.
Practice.
We've done it a few times now. So, we are talking about the McDonald's remodel at Empire Boulevard. located within Baytown Plaza. The board talked about this at the last meeting, and the applicant has come back with a revised rendering of the building and the four-side elevations. They've now included a cultured stone element on the brand walls of the building. The brick and EFS surfaces have remained the same. And again, they've added the stone in an attempt to complement some of the elements that have been used in the plaza as well. You'll see some of this cultured stone used in the plaza actually. They did speak with the DeMarco group about what was used in their plaza, so they tried to make sure that they were using similar products. And it's back before the board to continue the discussion about this second attempt at the remodel.
Say better, but maybe keep working. I mean, better than it was, but
What the culture.
still not
Yeah,
like the rest of the plaza.
cultured stone, but if you compare the, I guess the color usage, the plaza is a lot lighter. This looks very dark.
It could be the print.
Part of it is the
Render.
projector.
Okay.
It is.
So it looks lighter on
just-
the laptop display than it is in the projector.
I'm thinking more of the actual, maybe
Architecture.
put, well, like that the pharmacy, they were putting the stone along
The
like
edge
a
of the
knee
building,
wall.
yep.
There's a lot that can be done to,
It's pretty bland looking in my opinion.
yes.
Yeah.
Would you like to see, I'm thinking of a couple things. AJ's suggestion about seeing the cultured stone wrapped around the building along the knee wall is one option. Would you like to see a contrasting color perhaps, like with a limestone type of color, or like more of a lighter earth tone to break up that color of the side of the building in that area? Or,
I'd like to see something. I'm not
yes,
an architect. However, so from that standpoint, I don't want necessarily the responsibility of saying, hey, you should do exactly this, 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 and this. They're professionals that are good at their jobs, and to me, it's on the McDonald's end of it, a half-hearted attempt to
so
you
keep
know,
trying.
keep trying. It's an improvement, but
Okay.
keep trying.
Supportive of the stone selected.
There's a lot of, you drive around the country and you see a lot of very elaborate McDonald's buildings. New ones.
Sure.
So, it can't be this, oh geez, never done that before.
Okay. We can communicate that back to them.
You guys
I
agree,
agree.
disagree? Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to
jumped on
speak
that one,
for
sorry.
No,
both of you
it's-
guys.
I think this misses the mark compared to, you look at the rest of the plaza and the work and the care that was taken to really redo the facades of that plaza. And it just doesn't play with the rest of the plaza.
Okay. Well, we can table it this evening again, and we can communicate back to them to continue working with some of the,
Do we need a motion for that?
no, I don't think we did last time. It's an action item.
Okay.
Okay.
But we'll get back to them and get back to you.
Perfect.
Okay?
All right. Anything else before the public hearing?
That concludes all of our action items this evening.
All right. We have
One
about
public hearing item.
10 minutes until the public hearing. We will recess and reconvene 7 o'clock up on the dais.
It'll be right up there if you're on.
Good evening. Welcome to the June 14th, 20 2018 meeting of the Penfield Planning Board. We will begin the meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you everyone for coming. We have one item on our agenda this evening. The way our process works is the applicant will come up to the podium. You can put drawings up on the white screen, present their idea to the board. The board will ask questions. Once the board is done asking questions and clarifications, we open up to public participation from the audience. We just ask you to raise your hand. I'll call you up. Come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then we'd love to hear what you think. So with that, Zach, if you could read our public hearing item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Application number 1, Chris Costanza, 9x30 design, 314 Hollywood Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14618, on behalf of Penfield United Methodist Church, requests under Chapter 250, Articles 12-12.2 and 13-13.2 of the Code of the Town of Penfield for preliminary and final site plan approval and an expansion to an existing conditional use permit to allow a 3,750 square foot addition with associated site improvements on a 19.8 acre parcel located at 1785/1795 Baird Road. The property is now formally owned by the Penfield United Methodist Church and zoned R120. Application number 18P-0021, SBL number 124.01-2-27. All yours, guys. Would you like to clip it on there or use the magnets? I'm not sure if the magnet.
Yeah, that'll help for the cameras to show people who are watching at home, and also for the record. Videos posted on our website, penfield.org, for those of you who don't know. You can go to penfield.org and see many, many planning board meetings, town board meetings, zoning board meetings in their entirety. Must-see TV, PC TV.
I can hold it. This is going to be hours.
We are at a disadvantage because Chris Costanza, who represents us, is not here yet.
Okay.
The rest of our people are here, but he is not here.
Ah,
And he's the architect.
would you like to speak about the project, or did you have anything to say?
Well, sure, I'll vamp.
While we're here,
How about we try to make you feel as uncomfortable as possible?
Okay, that'd
How's
be
that
good.
sound?
No, we wait for the engineer to come in.
One on the back.
Has anybody been in, do we know his ETA?
We haven't heard.
Okay,
His ETA was 15 minutes ago.
got it.
This project was first conceived 50 years ago. When the original building was constructed, there was to be a fellowship hall as a part of it. Funding was short at the time, and it wasn't completed. There have been several attempts to plan this addition, and we finally got serious about it and raised funds for it, and are ready to move forward. We have the plans that you've seen submitted from our architect. The congregation has had some preliminary meetings about it. We've discussed uses for the building. It will be an assembly space.
If I could just interrupt you for a
Yes.
second, could you introduce yourself with your name and address, just for the record?
Yes.
Thanks.
I am Reverend Lauren Swanson. It's Lauren. And I reside at 1785 Baird Road.
thank you.
Great, thank you.
Currently, when we have dinners or events, we are crammed into a couple of classrooms that you can remove a partition, and So typically, if we have a dinner, we have half of the people on one side of the hall and half of the people on the other side of the hall. It's been something that we've had to address. And so this addition is meant to accomplish that. It would be a freestanding building with a walkway, as you can see. We put in for the largest size we could possibly afford. We don't know yet whether we can afford the largest size, but we figured we'd start there.
So if you pointed out on the aerial view there, that's the building in the foreground? The
This
proposed building in the foreground?
Mhm.
That doesn't exist right now?
Correct.
And it's for having events
Mhm.
primarily?
And it's the, we wouldn't be increasing the overall occupancy of the building. I mean, it's the folks that would be in the sanctuary who would then later be in the assembly space. We have adequate parking. That isn't a problem. We don't anticipate any further noise coming out of there or anything.
Do you need any variances?
The way this is drawn now, we don't. Our original plan was to bring this out flush with this, and that would require a variance by a foot. But the way it's drawn now, it's back, so we don't need that variance.
Didn't mean to
No problem.
steal your thunder with any questions that you might have. Bob's the lead on this. So.
And I do have, so in the summary, Lauren, besides the building, there were site improvements that were called out. One, I believe, would be the Tranquility Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And what else, as part of the project, is under the heading of site improvements?
There would be some landscaping in the front, as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
There was discussion about a swale somewhere, but I'm not clear on those details.
I can help you with that one if you'd like.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be great.
So while the site plan is not displayed here, the project does propose, I should say, within that garden you referenced, Bob, new landscaping, a nice pathway, but also a rain garden in there, as well as a new rain garden to the south of the addition, closer to the road.
Right, I saw that.
Just to help as a buffer, as a visual buffer, but also to provide some function there for stormwater runoff as well. As the Reverend mentioned, parking is adequate on site. They do not need any variances for setbacks. They do comply with the 100-foot setback to property lines as required by the code. Other improvements would include just some exterior lighting that is dark sky compliant, that would be over all the points of egress, i.e. the doors.
Like
They're
full cut off, wall packs, that kind of thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the architecture, as you can see on the building, is designed to be consistent with what's existing today. So I know they've gone to great lengths to accomplish that.
Are there any exterior HVAC units? Did you know of the placement of those?
Currently.
Just bring them
Do you
up.
mind introducing yourself also? Thanks.
Sure. Sid Pendlebury, 6-Way Shire Drive. If we are going to have HVAC units, they probably sit back here, but currently that's not in the plan. Our dream building is use insulated concrete forms. It's a fairly tight infrastructure with radiant heat flooring and passive cooling. That's part of these windows here, and what that would allow us to do is really, what we hope to do is be able to cool at night and then bring that temperature down and ride that temperature curve throughout the entire day. This would give us the greatest bang for the buck so far as operational costs.
Not to put you on the spot,
Sure.
do you know enough about that concept to explain it a little better?
Sure. So from the bottom, we have insulated concrete. We have an insulated concrete foundation, and what that does is that's going to isolate the ground from above. We are probably, you're going to see a little bit of raise here, and the reason that's there is because underneath here is nothing but stone and rock. The rest of the building's actually up about a foot. So with the insulated concrete there, and then around, what that allows us to do, we've had a couple bids out already, just speccing out the costs, and basically it's just styrofoam blocks. Think of it as big giant Lego blocks laid around, and then we just come through with concrete and fill it in. Obviously it's braced and that sort of thing, and then from there we lay on an insulated roof. We're still debating whether or not we can do insulation, an insulated concrete roof, or we have to go with a more conventional roof. There's one company called Lightforms that actually does the insulated, and so that's kind of where we're at with that particular piece of it. But the idea is that with the high R value, we'd actually, and the great thermal mass of both the floor and the walls, it would store or repel the energy as we need it.
So there wouldn't actually be an air conditioning system?
No, fans. We've made allowances in case we have to have one, in case it doesn't work. Rochester's it's a new market for insulated concrete structures. You see a few of them. I know there's one going up in Brighton. There's a couple others, but really it was fairly sparse. We wanted to go around and see a few, and we had a hard time finding them.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and we know we kind of need masonry anyway. The whole rest of the place is cinder block. So you're either going to do block or you're going to do insulated concrete forms, because you want a building life cycle of at least 50 years. I mean, they waited 50 years to build it. By golly, it ought to last another 50.
Yeah, there's a passive house in Honeoye Falls that uses those insulated blocks. So it has a very minimal annual heating, cooling cost to it.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part is its expense. The prices we got for the insulated concrete forms around there's $45,000. You brace it, you pour in your concrete, and so now you're up to about $120,000. The rest is roof and finish work. That's a pretty cheap building in a matter of just a couple of weeks. So we're going to make our money really is on reducing the labor costs as well. It's kind of a fun project. It's really cool.
Okay,
Sorry if I'm a little
thank
excited
you.
about it.
I just had one other question. The location and use of the trash receptacles for the site, those would remain as they are?
So the trash receptacles currently are back here.
Okay.
And one of the site improvements is we actually have too much dirt back here, so that's going to be leveled out and brought down. And they would go either here or right there, depending on how it's going to work. We really have to do a little workflow there. You know, when you're having the kitchens here, does it really make sense to haul the garbage all the way down here? Or are we going to be up here? But what is exciting about it is it's going to allow us to use larger totes. Right now we have like a little kind of repository that we put the bags in, and they have to actually come up there and pull it. And this is a far better improvement.
Okay, thank you.
So just to get bearings for people, the new structure is the southeast corner. So in that image, Baird Road is to the right, correct?
It's right here.
And what will the average person, whether if they live on Baird Road or someone driving by, what will be the difference in what they see from today to what's proposed?
The only difference is that they will see this facade right here, and they'll see the front of the Tranquility Garden. This will
Okay.
be, this is similar to this part of the building here.
Okay. Need to remove a lot of trees.
There are a couple of trees that are in the way right now, smaller trees that are about here and here.
A crab apple and a silver maple.
Okay. And the material that eastern facing fascia is matches the existing structure in
Right.
both color and material.
Right.
Actually, the brick is still manufactured, so
Okay.
it's just kind of a rarity over 50 years.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else on the board have
Yeah,
questions?
I have a question. When do you traditionally hold service?
There's a 9 a.m. and there's an 11:15 a.m., 10 a.m. on Sundays, or in summer, I mean.
And Saturday, do you hold Saturday services?
No.
Okay.
The building's in use week round. There's a preschool that meets daily, except in the summer.
Okay. So, I guess my only comment is that in your application, you indicate that you intend that for the new assembly structure to house the same people that occupy the sanctuary. So I'm just curious as to whether or not you've considered times where there might be, say, a funeral service in the sanctuary where you've had a previous engagement booked in the new assembly hall, and whether or not there would be sufficient parking for all of that.
Well, first of all, I think there would be, but second of all, I think that's really rare. If we were to have a funeral, we'd probably have the reception for the funeral in the hall. That would be the typical thing. We try not to book around those things. Our preschool would probably make use of that area for their large motor stuff, but that would just be a matter of relocating the kids that are in this wing into there.
They generally don't drive, right?
No,
So
no.
we don't have that
Right.
concern.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
They're not supposed to anyway. Okay, anyone else on the board have
I'm all set.
questions? Okay, would anyone in the audience like to comment on this? Yes.
Ed Linsko, 40 Willow Pond Way. Most of you know me. How I'm affiliated with this facility is through the Scouts. They have a scouting unit there presently, and I know the Scouts could use the additional room for their meeting space and their activities that they perform. The Methodist Church also provides the legacy at Willow Pond where I live, transportation and church services for Sunday from the legacy representative, so a bus comes every Sunday. They're very involved with the community, and that's why I thought I'd get up and help support the project, because I think it's necessary for the community. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Would anyone else like to comment? Okay. You have any final statements you'd like to make?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right, nobody else from the board?
Nope, we're good.
Thank you very much for coming. Have a great rest of the month, and we will call this hearing closed.
Sorry, I had an email saying it was 7:30, but I'm
That's
here in
okay.
case you have any questions that weren't answered before.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. They did a terrible job, by the way, Chris, and,
Yeah,
you know,
bad news. All right,
he's early.
thoughts? Anybody have any issues? We have we've got a draft approval. resolution.
I think this is a very suitable improvement
It's a
for the,
very- Yeah.
Yeah.
for the
I agree.
project. I think they did a very nice job of trying to tie in architecturally and schematically on the massing plan, how this would fit in well.
Any staff technical concerns, engineering department, planning department, that need to be addressed that have not been addressed that we can't put as a condition?
No, I think everything could be, addressed at, if you choose to proceed, so there's nothing that would be outstanding or out of the normal realm of a proposed addition, so.
Okay.
Yeah, any of the comments that are in the PRC memo could be addressed as pre-Mylar
Right.
items.
Yeah.
All right, so what is your application?
All right. Yeah, and I'm happy to see a project that does include some passive elements for heating, cooling in the building. I think that's great. Great. With that south exposure and that long wall, that's a good opportunity there, and it's good to see that they're taking advantage of that. So with that, I know there's a short EAF that's been prepared.
That's correct. The completed EAF has been provided for you, so that would require a vote.
I'll motion to approve.
Second? The EAF you're talking.
Yes.
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Burton,
Aye.
Canower,
Aye.
All right.
And you have the
We
approval
have a draft
resolution.
approval
And they-
resolution in our draft.
Right, motion to approve the draft resolution.
I'll second.
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Burton,
Aye.
Canower,
Aye.
Okay. We have an addition.
That was the easiest public hearing I've ever been to.
Great job. One for one. I'll follow up. I'll be in touch with
I think you owe the
follow-up.
Reverend a few bucks for the.
Yeah, there
So
Maybe there's a little
just
discount on it.
Throw in a few R in those walls.
just as a follow-up for the next steps, we'll follow up with a copy of the resolution from the board and the pre-Mylar steps to get you guys ready for a building permit. Okay? All right. Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome. Have a good, have a good summer.
4th of July coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further business? Old business, new business?
No further
Monkey business?
None of that either. None of that.
Okay. I guess we will adjourn. Thanks, everybody.